Buddhism is one of the largest and oldest religions in the world. Spanning across all corners of the globe, it is practiced by over 500 million people. The origins of this religion can be traced back to 400 BC. The sacred stories or myths regarding Buddhism begins with Siddhartha Gautama, an Hindu prince whose mother had a revelation that Gautama would either grow up to be a great ruler or a great revolutionary spiritual leader. Gautama's father shunned him away from reality and kept him safe inside their palace well until his adult life. Gautama left the palace to venture onto the outside world and finally came across the true realities of this world. He witnessed death, sickness, old age, and misery for the first time ever in his life. After coming into face with these discoveries, he then dedicates his life to find the true path away from suffering. He tries multiple approaches, but the one that leads him to true enlightenment is when he meditates below a tree for 49 days. After this long meditation, he becomes the Buddha, meaning the enlightened one. His spiritual revelations and discoveries become the basic foundation of Buddhism. The main ritual associated with Buddhism is meditation. Meditation in Buddhism is seen as a sacred activity that brings one to enlightenment. Along with meditation, another ritual is mantra, or sacred sounds which can stem from words, syllables, and sounds one chants to also invoke enlightenment. Pilgrimage is considered another spiritual ritual in the religion. It is when one visits sacred sites or locations to further attain more wisdom. Unlike other religions, in Buddhism, sacred power is held within humans. People who follow this religion do not look for outside divine sources for power or wisdom. They simply look for it within Buddha's teachings, which allow them to also find the power inside themselves that can lead them to enlightenment. Some sacred spaces in the religion can be found in Buddhist temples and shrines, where people come to pay their respects and meditate among one another. Another place that can be deemed as sacred for this religion are the places one visits when they are on their pilgrimage. Some of these places are like Buddha's birthplace in India or Lumbini Grove, the place where Buddha reached enlightenment, and other places associated with his life. The basic premise of Buddhism is to remove one's life from suffering so they can reach enlightenment to live a life of satisfaction and contentment. I do think Buddhism can provide hope for the future and motivate people to renew their morals to live up to what others might seem as impossible moral ideas of perfection. One might agree that if everyone reached enlightenment, this would motivate them to maneuver through life in a way that is morally correct and in a way that would not disrupt one's peace or balance. One of Buddha's teachings is the Noble Eightfold Path, which is essentially the method one takes to remove suffering from their life and reach enlightenment, and is also considered a middle way between desire and suffering. The Noble Eight Path composes of 8 ideas. The first one is right understanding, which means you have a right understanding of the Four Noble Truths. Next comes right thought, which means you have control of your mind, thoughts, and intentions to make sure that they are all in line with goodness. Third comes right speech, which means you should not partake in any form of speech that might cause suffering to others or to yourself. Another idea in this path is right action, which has to do with being mindful of your actions to make sure that they are also aligned with good and will not cause any harm to others. Another idea is right livelihood, which has to do with making sure your profession or livelihood does not cause suffering or harm onto others or to other living beings. Another idea is right effort, which means that you should have control over your mind and make sure that your efforts are to not produce any negative thoughts. Then comes right mindfulness, which has to do with being aware and in tune with your emotions, surroundings, and sense of self. Lastly comes right concentration, which has to do with concentrating on clarity, which can be found through meditation, which can eventually lead you to reveal your own personal truths. Now, if everyone embodied most aspects of the Eightfold Path and successfully removed themselves from suffering, We could also be separating ourselves from willingly doing anything that is morally incorrect, possibly leading humanity into a utopian society. I believe this religion takes an inclusivism approach to other religions. While I am sure that most Buddhists would acknowledge the possibility of other religions being able to lead others to salvation, I'm sure they will still agree that their approach is the most efficient way to salvation and enlightenment. Although I do find this religion extremely alluring, and in one hand, I agree that their approach is an efficient way to salvation and enlightenment. But, however, I do not agree that it is a superior approach to other religions because I simply do not agree that any religion has any superiority over another one because no one has all the answers. I do think studying this religion would be extremely valuable because I believe Buddhism is one of those religions that you can find certain ideas that resonate with you and thus apply them to your life no matter what you follow or no matter what your beliefs are.